Hola, audiencia, y bienvenidos para hoy Dimelo Cinema Club. I'm Jason Echoes, and tonight we will be reviewing Beyond the Valley of the Dows, directed by Russ Myers, written by Roger Ebert. Yes, that Roger Ebert, the Chicago Sun-Times critic. I am joined by our illustrious panel of co-hosts and reviewers, Don Dino Spazzini, Steve Dez. We have the Z-Man, Chris, Michaela, and of course, JP. I would like to get right into this thing because we kind of have a full house tonight. And so let's just jump right into first impressions, you guys. Um, Dino, I'm gonna let you jump out and let you start the party. Tell us what your first impression of this movie was.
It was wild. Um, I knew it was gonna be wild because it's rated X, so you don't see many rated X movies anymore. And I didn't realize it was gonna be so musically at the very beginning. So that was already kind of trippy, and that kind of threw me off. I was like, well, I thought this was gonna be way more weird, and oh boy, did it get more weird. It's not House, that Japanese movie we watched, but it's almost up there. Like it, every time I'm thinking like, okay, it's gonna go here, it's like, no, it went there, and okay, it's gonna go here, and it's like, no, and it went there. So I was entertained because I didn't know what was happening. I think this movie would be great watching it with a group of people, or maybe like being a cult classic at a movie theater at like midnight or whatever, passing them marijuana cigarettes, you know. So like the language in it was just so much fun and cheesy, and you want to make love. At no point did they say sex or any other word. It was always love. So I loved all that. I loved the corniness of it, but it was still wild. And that was kind of my first impression for show.
Cool, cool. All very valid. All very valid. JP, why don't you take it away?
Well, being a cult movie, I would definitely recommend it also as a group. Maybe not in a theater, but maybe in Jonestown, probably. Okay, a lot of things were brought up that I'm glad was already brought up. One, the audacity on Roger Ebert to have a career in film criticism after watching this movie is like the balls on this motherfucker who said, you know what? I think Tim Burton's a schmuck. Fuck you, Roger, you dead jawless motherfucker.
Jesus.
But
Right.
also, all the things I said regarding House, editing wise, after watching this movie, I have to rescind. This movie made me nauseous. There was more jump cuts in this film than like a YouTube vlogger channel from 2005. It was so hard to focus what was going on in the movie because they kept cutting mid seconds to another thing, and sometimes it would stay in the same scene, right? So they wouldn't cut to like a party or something like that to make it funny or like whatever. It was just dizzying. It was hard to appreciate and even know what was going on in the film because they kept cutting to bullshit. And and also this is back when film editing was done practically. So someone chose to take that choice. Someone chose to put in the extra work of cutting and pasting the film like that. But oh god, there was a few good lines of dialogue, I'm not gonna lie. And my favorite character in the movie at the very end, spoiler, ended up being the one that I hated the most, which was sad. But anyways, like, oh god, it was crazy, but it was not fun for me. No, I literally was getting dizzy from like how it was edited. By the time that the movie decided to slow down, we were already near the end, so I just purely based on it. If I want to see boobs, it better be on the screen for more than half a second, okay, and not just different shots of, you know. But oh god, guys, like this film, it was not a fun ride. It was I did not like it. I really recommend it. Well, anyone else?
Sure. Steve, why don't you jump in?
Okie dokie. The expressions of JP do not represent the expressions of the Cinema Club. I just want to say that. Just like the Joker, but the Joker is like a more modern movie, I guess. It was done like in the past few years. This is a great origin story. I did not know that I was watching the origin story of Buffalo Bill.
That's plausible. You might be able to draw a conclusion of that. You put it all together.
But yeah, I gotta say, just like what JP was saying, there was some things about the beginning of the movie that was highly confusing to me, that even I had to like check a couple times that I wasn't watching this movie in fast forward mode, because sometimes when I have to cram in a movie, I do fast forward a bit and watch it a little bit sped up. But I was watching it pretty normal, and some scenes felt very speedy, very speedy. But yeah, there's definitely a movie. I know we're not on final thoughts, but I would definitely not recommend this movie to young children. Just because, the 60s were wild, you know what I'm saying? And there's certain things you got to watch when you're maybe above 20 years old.
No, you have to be above 17. That's the NC-17 rating. You gotta be above 17.
Was this movie really rated X?
It was rated X, yeah.
Wow. I did not know that. I was like, yo, is this a Skinemax film or what?
No, those are much more fun.
Well, back then it was.
Yeah. I wonder, was this like premiered in like actual theaters?
Yeah, this is a studio film. This is from 20th Century Fox.
Oh wow. I wish I would be able to kind of see the headlines. Like, how long was this in theaters for? Do you have that information or no?
No, I don't know how long it was in theaters. What I do know is that Roger Ebert and Russ Myers basically wrote this in 6 weeks, and they went right into production because they had a deal with the studio. And so they kind of like pushed the project through, and the studio was like really low on money at the time, and they let it happen, taking like a big chance on this thing, like being kind of with this they kind of had cult status in mind, the way it sort of reads. They're just taking a chance that there's something that could play to like the wilder audiences and pull in people. They knew it was kind of campy and shticky. And I guess like they wrote it so fast, they didn't. Russ Myers wasn't like making movies that had messages to them, but he already sort of had like a cult following because he was directing like pornos and adult films, and had some success with some other weirder stuff. And they just thought like, all right, give this guy a studio shot. And Roger Ebert was brought along to write that script. Never did anything in Hollywood after that. Just this one thing.
Go back to Chicago.
I can see why.
Yeah. But the crazy thing is, he was already a reviewer before this.
Yeah,
a writer. He's a writer and journalist for the, Chicago Sun-Times or whatever it is.
There's such a strange pairing. Someone thought that was a good idea.
I'll conclude my initial thoughts because there's a lot to discuss about the movie.
Sure. Chris, why don't you jump in here?
Yeah, so for me, man, I started to look at the list of movies that Russ Meyer had otherwise. Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill, Wild Gals of Naked West. And I totally disagree, man. I'm sure they had serious messages in those movies. Amazon Women on the Moon. I do think that this probably was a movie that spent some time under parents' beds in their houses and kids found them, and that was their first experience with boobs. I do
Yeah.
feel like that's probably what this movie was for a lot of people. But I also think in the first 15 minutes, I thought there was a chance that this would have been done well, because in the first 15 minutes, there was like a dance sequence where there was dialogue going on between a ton of characters and they were rhyming. And I was like, maybe this won't be so bad, because it was kind of telling a story a little bit while they were doing it. And I had high hopes. And then about 5 more minutes in, I was like, where are they going with this? And then it got all kind of lost. And definitely, I think, Roger Ebert definitely wrote his one and only script. To me, it was kind of like watching Benny Hill. Did you guys ever see Benny Hill, that British comedy?
Yeah.
You know, when you were young and you got to see a little bit of like naughtiness. And then my favorite characters by far, the orange lady. The orange lady with the orange hair, and like the guy that played Argus Filch from Harry Potter was, those creepy people at the very beginning. I thought it was interesting. I think there was too many characters. Also, I felt like at times I was trying to figure out who was who, and they jumped back and forth a lot with the characters, and nobody had any depth whatsoever. So it was hard to tell who was who. They all had interesting hair, for the time. But I do think there was a lot of really good lines. One of the lines I remember was like, so anxious to get out of bed, I stepped on her face. I thought that was pretty funny.
Oh yeah.
And the one guy was like hitting on a girl, and it worked. And his line was, the other girl said that I was a lousy lay. And he was like, will you sleep with me right after that? And it totally landed. So I don't know. I guess that's, but for me overall, it started off like there was a chance it was going to be awesome, and then it kind of just fell apart.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, Chris. Michaela, why don't you throw in some thoughts on your first impression?
Let's talk about Freudian slips, Much. Like, that's what this whole film felt like, was like a Freudian slip. Like, it's like someone who's just like, I know how to do art because I know how to recognize good art. Let me show you, And I was so brokenhearted over the portrayal of the one trans character. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, this is like, you can see where like the seed of such a troublesome trope came from. And I'm sure we're gonna get into that later, but I don't know, like it was a movie, and I watched it.
So both you and JP agree on the movie thing.
And I even I don't know how kid friendly we are here, but like I watched The Stoned, and I still was kind of just like, eh.
All right, so that's a great segue for me to go into my first impression of the film. The problem is that you should have watched it on acid, because I'm for sure there's a lot of that happening during production, the writing, and the total conceptualization of this film, and the initial consumption of this film. I'm sure was all done on acid. It was an acid trip movie. I'm almost certain. The same way we have weed movies now. I'm pretty sure. I mean, they drop acid in the movie and stuff. Like everybody's like dropping it. It's crazy.
And peyote.
And peyote and everything. They're doing everything in this thing. So I will say, I had a lot of thoughts watching this movie. I figured I would probably never get to it, but here I am. I got to it, and I got through it with you guys, so that's good. There is a lot. Listen, I don't disagree with anything anyone said, but I will say this, because you guys have all given my thoughts as well. I will say that there were some good things that I liked about this movie. When the movie first begins, man, that soundtrack is rocking. I was like, this music is so good. I was like, man, I want to steal this and put it in a movie today. And then the song they played twice, Find It. I'm like, that's so sick. I love that track. I added it to my playlist while I was watching the movie the second time it came on, because I wanted it. So yeah, that stuff was cool. I kind of liked a lot of this movie. Definitely feels like a time capsule, for a time in Hollywood that may have existed, probably did exist, that we never will see, but
probably still exists.
Probably still exist, and I think that was kind of telling and weird and cool, and they're trying to like make the movie campy at the same time, and it doesn't take itself serious at any point. And I get the tropes that they're throwing out there. There's lots of different characters. I think they didn't really care so much about story. They're telling the story of all these characters in this one place at the same time, sort of gathered around this one dude who's like just a super rich dude in Hollywood for like no reason apparently. But that made me think of the film Boogie Nights. I was like, this thing has a lot of Boogie Night vibes in it. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be some sort of inspiration there, when it came to P.T. Anderson. Because it just feels overlaid.
Yeah.
Overlaid.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking about when I was watching this. And there was some really good lines in it, and there's some really cool moments in it too. And then there's a lot of stuff that's just overkill that we're going to get into too. It's just like, what's the point? What's happening? But yeah, so let's jump into what we thought about the movie. We can open the conversation up with.
I have
let's
a
talk
quick
about.
question. Oh, sorry. What?
Yeah, go ahead, Dino.
Was anyone like I forget who said there were too many characters that it got confusing? Did anyone else have issues with like all the white women kind of looking alike? Because I think like the lesbian couple was like
whoa, that is problematic thinking. And first off, they all have different hair.
I am surprised that there was not a blonde.
Yeah, that was weird. No blondes.
No
there
blonde.
was one blonde. One blonde.
It was, but like we didn't have like a main blonde.
Yeah.
I know what Dino was saying. Like there was a lot of women that like had the same eyeshadow.
Oh yeah, no,
and
like
the same brown teeth.
I love how diverse the movie was. Lots of diversity in this damn thing.
But the lesbian couple,
no Asian people.
I felt like there was an older one and then the younger one, but then at times they kind of melded together and I couldn't really quite tell. But yeah, then you had this had like the most, I feel like, black characters that we've seen in a long time, especially a movie from this time period. And they're all kind of like, you have the Muhammad Ali character, and then you have like this guy being a lawyer, and it's just like, yeah, that's what's up.
This is great. This is exactly what I wanted to talk about. I wanted us to talk about the characters a little bit. So why don't you all just tell me a little bit? We usually ask like, what character did you identify with or liked in the movie? But I would say of this, you can't answer this truthfully. Of all the characters in the film, which storyline were you most interested in following through to the end? Like, who did you want to see? I mean, there's so much stuff happening. Did you care about anybody's journey at all specifically, or wanted to see like what thread led where?
I loved Emerson Thorne just because he was a man of God and did not give in to this debauchery of a movie.
Emerson was the older guy.
What's up?
Emerson was the older guy.
No, he was the lawyer, the kid who was trying to pass his bar exam. Because I felt for him the most, and he seemed like the most with genuine charm. Like everyone else in this movie came also as very sleazy and very like there was a lot of like brain food fight going on, where it's like trying to like whip each other's like cerebral dicks around. It's like, look how smart I am, look how smart I am. But then you got Emerson. He's a cool guy, and he managed to score with a very beautiful, like, nice woman. And and he was the only guy that didn't come up as problematic. Like even in moments where he could have been and had every right to be an asshole, he got the high ground. He got the high ground so much he went on top of a car in that one scene.
Yeah.
Talk about who I thought was gonna get paralyzed. Like he just got his like kneecaps like. That was shot so well, but those legs just went right under, and I was like, "Oh, he lost his legs."
That's what I was thinking too, man. I was like, I don't like the way he just hit him with this car. That was too real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably did hurt in the morning. Don't think
Yeah,
they could afford stuntmen.
I was worried that one of the black characters was gonna die first, like the interaction with like the boxer and all that, and then she takes the knife out, and I'm like, all right, but no, they kind of kept going, and I was like, good for them.
So for
Maybe
me,
that's
this thing was also a little bit like a fairy tale, and no character stayed the same throughout this thing. There's not a lot of consistency throughout, but I like the character.
what?
Yeah, I like the character that was presented to us in the beginning, the singer. I kind of wanted to see where her story was going to go and like what kind of web she was going to get sort of pulled into, because it seemed like it was all going to work out for her if she just did nothing. She was going to get her inheritance. Her rock career was going to like jump off. You know, she was meeting cool, interesting people. Like, it seemed like her life was materializing. She was dating a big movie star. Like, kind of seemed like everything was going to work out for her one way or another. She seemed confident and smart and had her stuff together. And then it's like really nothing happened to anybody by the end of it. Nobody was the same, but like nothing. I guess things happen for these people, but it was just weird. And there's these huge jumps in time that kind of makes it confusing. But that's the character I think I was most interested in.
It sounded like all this happened in like 2-3 weeks also, because they kind of dropped that towards the end, and I'm like, wait, what? It's only been, and I'm like, they've already been on TV, they've had an album. I'm like, well, what is like? It just was, huh?
I thought it was like a year or something.
This was like the very smutty A Star Is Born.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what Valleys of the Doll, like, essentially the band, like, there's hints towards this big novel that came out during that time that was considered very torrid, because it followed the lives of 3 young women as they faced stardom in very different ways, and like I could see the influence of the novel and what he was trying to do, but like edgy and cool, and it just didn't land.
Yeah.
Because like,
Was there as much?
die after. Yeah.
Was there as much William Shakespeare kind of thing in the novel?
No.
I was like Roger Ebert is just freaking like trying to put in like all these kind of a little Shakespeare and a little like
so much of it. Congratulations, you're literate.
Yeah,
a
little black Orpheus in there, and just like some, you know, all these kind of genres into like one drunken, coked, peyote, acid, downers, quaalude bender of
you will drink the black sperm of my vengeance, I believe was the line.
That one threw me.
That was I just also love how he couldn't help but review his own movie at the end.
Yeah, really.
Oh, yeah, the narration at the end.
Yeah.
I know that
Yeah,
was what we were talking about.
Could you imagine
I don't know.
movie so much that you feel like this is necessary for people to think that it's actually a good movie?
Well, by the way, I mean, I guess we're jumping all over like the movie. Sorry, I keep jumping Michaela as well. What were you saying, Michaela?
No, like I was just adding on to like that just tells me how bad he knew it was, but would never like say it to anyone. It's just like he watched it without it, and then he's just like, okay, we just need to add this so people can understand what I'm trying to do.
You know what? Like, I think that was probably the studio giving notes. Like, hey, man, you got to do something. We can't just leave people in the movie theater hanging like that. You got to tell them that it's over. You know,
they're like, let's just make this the ending.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's him having fun and actually writing epilogue, like just to like kind of be like, whatever.
He did wrote epilogue.
But with the narration though, did I mishear, or did he basically say the lesbians got killed because they had it coming and they were lesbians?
That's
what he
He's
said.
like, it wasn't wrong, but when you like participate in homosexuality, you will die tragically.
He said like their love was not evil, But you know,
But
you know.
I was like, what?
You know, the couple that we had the least amount of screen time with, and they were the ones that get bit. Like, what the hell is that about?
Well, because I was kind of like, oh, well, before the big reveal, I was kind of like, okay, progressive. You have black characters, you have gay characters, you have old characters, I guess, that keep popping up. So I was like, all right, this is has a little bit of everything. And then it's like, yeah, you're not evil, love, but you still deserve to die.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting movie. Actually, I'm going to send you guys. I'm going to send you guys a link for an article that I found. Roger Ebert's review of his own film. And it's pretty interesting.
He's
Because he
rage. I'm feeling it.
He says, ethically, I can't, as a reviewer, review my own film, but I can give you some notes on the film that me and Russ Meyer have.
When was that review? Right after it came out, or is that like a retrospect?
In a retrospect. So it was for the 10th anniversary viewing of it. He wrote a piece for the newspaper.
I mean, he had a lawyer character in his film. You should know the meaning of rescinding. You know, no, not rescinding. What's that called when you have to like get out of the case because you are involved? We fucking saw it in that other movie too. God damn it, the fish one. When you have to
Fish called Wanda.
Yeah, I remember the movie, but like that technical term of removing yourself from a case because you're related to the case.
Yeah.
Station or
well, it's conflict of interest, right?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Did everybody get their?
Well, just like which character you would have wanted a little bit more? I guess Otto. Like, was he a Nazi, or is that just like the outfit he got given because he's German?
In that moment, I thought this is starting to feel a little bit like a Tarantino film for no reason. You know what I mean? There's just a random Nazi running through Hollywood being chased by a person with an Excalibur sword. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, I can see this story somewhere in Hollywood. Or this guy comes, if this dude was on the streets running with the Nazi costume on and the guy still killed him, right? Everybody be like, yeah, he deserved it. He was a Nazi, man. Like, people might not even look twice. That's what I was thinking might happen in this thing. Like,
do you remember what he said when he killed him?
Yeah, this is for the 6 million
innocents. He said this is for the cries of the 6 million innocents. I was like, oh, really?
But you gave him the outfit? I was just like, what is going on? And I thought more people were going to, man.
That Z-Man character was
get invited.
I felt like that Z-Man character, he was trying to use Alex from Clockwork Orange for a little bit. And then afterwards, I found out this movie came out before that movie. I didn't realize that. So at first I was like, this guy is totally based on Alex, no doubt. Like, it's a terrible version, but you know.
I was thinking that too, but then I also considered this kind of, Joker character shows up a lot in British stuff. And I think it's it might be like this Artful Dodger character from British lore and literature who pops up all the time. He's just sort of like a Paul Bettany's character in A Knight's Tale.
I just know Frankenfurter did it better.
He's also like a Loki, right? Like the god of mischief or whatever, because he's constantly trying to pin people together and give all these other things. But then he goes psycho.
Oh,
maybe he is Hollywood
character,
right?
Because I'm so frustrated because throughout the entire movie he is just so supportive and all he does is bring people together. That's what the Z-Man does.
Right.
And then
he makes things happen. Z-Man.
Well, he's a producer because even the Johnny Carson is no one would be here without him.
Like
He
100%.
pulls the
And
string.
then like, the reveal is that he's doing this through like what weird rituals because of what people think. Oh gosh, I'm so frustrated about Z-Man's character. I'm just so frustrated because like I enjoyed him so much, and then the last 20 minutes happened, and it just obliterated that for me in like the worst possible way.
Yeah,
'Cause
man.
even
I felt like Z-Man went down with the rest of the ship of this movie. There was a certain point where like none of this, even for me, who was like, I'm just watching a flick here, man. It stopped making sense, and then none of it mattered anymore. It was like, okay, you can throw in characters, pull out characters, you can start making them do stuff that has never been like revealed in their character. You can just jump on any grenade right now. You can throw any grenade out there and just throw a character on it, and that's how we're going to wrap this thing up. And I also feel like the movie may be like 10, 15 minutes too long.
Let's talk about Harris's suicide.
Yeah.
Like at the
Attempted.
very end, it sounded like planes, like boom, it was so loud and
Pretty
made no
gruesome.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like it was an airplane coming down. That was
Exactly.
a weird sound effect. I guess
Sounded like a fart to me. It sounded like a Looney Tune fart.
This is like what? Out of
I've-
all
I've-
the possible sound effects they could have used for that.
I think they just wanted to make it jarring for the audience to make you think like maybe a bomb just got dropped on this movie.
It worked because that took me out really hard. I think I yelled at that point. I was like, "Oh my god!"
But like I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
think
he
that's
was-
the reaction they wanted, man.
There was some height to it too. Like they started
Yeah.
to scroll up and they just kept going up into the rafters, and I was like, "This is going to be a hard fall."
I thought
and
he
they-
was gonna
he was
hit the
moving
drum
within
kit.
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna hit the drum kit, and yeah,
I thought his head was gonna implode, but kind of like Emma Stone's character in that Spider-Man movie, it was still intact for some reason.
Well, can and then when he gets in a struggle and falls again, his feet start working.
you mean how like the doctor like had to explain to us how rare it was gonna happen, so it's probably not gonna happen. So like don't expect to like ever hear anything about this in the movie ever again because it's so rare and it might just happen, but it's probably not gonna happen. So like this is tragic, guys.
Also, not to go against like handicapped people, but it's like their friend is like, he's killing everyone, and they're like, let's go, and then he's like, wait for me, guys, and it's like they could
That was
got it
so
there already.
ridiculous. I'm like,
And
okay,
then-
I love that.
It was insane because the movie because now we're talking about the ending again.
Yes,
The
'cause
movie it goes from a Tarantino film to literally Scooby-Doo, a very progressive
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo.
I got mad Scooby-Doo vibes for sure.
And like the tone of that scene was so crazy because
Yeah.
they're all dead, and then Harris has to make it about himself again. Where he's like, guys, my toes.
Right
And then-
after Harris falls, the very next scene is him sitting playing chess, laughing, and he says, "Checkmate. No way I can move." And I was like, "Oh man!" Like
Yeah.
they just kept going for it. It was like so ridiculous how they went from one scene to the next scene.
And
they run
everybody
out
in
of
the house is fighting for their lives, and they keep cutting back to Harrison getting his feet into the chair. Harrison just now getting out of the van.
Going down the
Harrison,
steps.
Not only
Harrison's
that-
trying to figure out how to get up the steps. Like I'm like, come on, what is this?
Not only that, but they run out, and he's like, "Hey guys, don't leave me here." And it's
They should have played Eye of the Tiger.
Did anybody else think like, well, damn, Harrison, it's taking you so long to get into the house. Once you get in there, what the fuck are you going to do?
I know.
I thought it was
I
crazy.
feel that about him the whole movie. I'm like, why the fuck are you here? You are just here to be sad.
There's
That's all
your
you're here
Kill Bill.
for.
There's your Kill Bill moment of the bride like having to like climb, because she just woke up from the coma and she can't use her feet yet. Oh, there was foot fetish also. There's your Tarantino
Yep.
also.
And ear fetish.
Yeah.
Yep,
Foot
for sure.
and ear.
Dude, how about the gunshot? The lady's nose blows off.
Oh,
It's
my
like that was really good. There was some good gore. Like that head
Yeah.
was pretty good. Like the squirt of blood. Like
Yeah.
man, it was.
Even though the blood was really bad, it's like painted on blood on people's mouths.
Yeah.
Like, the can of red paint strikes again.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
the shooting of the blood from the like that, you normally wouldn't have seen.
Oh
that,
yeah, for
you know?
sure. Yeah, for sure. There were some moments like that were interesting. I mean, don't give them too much credit. It was a studio produced film.
Well,
But also, this is rated X. This would not be a rated X movie today. And a rated X movie that comes out in 2022 would be 100 times worse than this as far as like
Yeah.
shock value or whatever it would take to get an X rating today.
This could probably be
What-
on Fox.
yeah.
Like,
Seriously. It'd probably be on regular
Right after animation domination block, watch Bad Beyond the Dolls.
Well, that 70s show.
I forget which channel had the Sopranos on. You know, so I mean,
HBO.
yeah, this can. No. Like they put it on basic
Regular.
cable. Yeah. So like they had to like pan when they were in the titty bar and stuff like that. They don't really use like bad words except for what would I don't know where we with the derogative gay term, which I don't know at a certain point, but that was like the only one that stood out for me of like bad language.
There was a lot of exploitation, clear, like obvious, like sexploitation. Dude, the boxer, his name was Randy Black. You know what I mean? Like they were definitely trying to go towards, in a lot of ways, different characters. They were
I
just
feel like
totally
this is an
exploiting them.
exploitation flick, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the attempt of this movie is, part satire, obviously, part exploitation, part, it's maybe they didn't have cult status back then, but it was trying to make a movie for these audiences, for this fringe audience. This thing, if it's an X movie, they clearly want it for midnight showings. That was
oh my
their
god,
lecture.
it was better because I almost like, oh no, it's gonna be this movie when she's like, don't bogart that joint, and I was like, oh no, please, let's not go there. And then
I like how the lawyer dude is like, she smokes joints, reefer, like that was like they're going to be doing some wild drugs in this movie, but up front he's like, you should be concerned about her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And marijuana cigarettes.
Smoking a marijuana cigarette.
But then he also gets into it, and I'm just like, what? There were so many characters like turnarounds, and I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, it was wild and purpose. So,
this film is billed as a musical, so we can't watch a musical and not talk about the music. What were you guys' impressions of the film's music? Did the score help the movie? Did it hurt it? Were there any good tunes in there?
It was very Jefferson Airplane. I felt like a lot of the music sounded like Jefferson Airplane to me.
Sure.
I don't know who. I think the name of the person that wrote the music is Stu Phillips, but I don't know anything by that person. I looked it up before, and that person wrote all the tracks.
Okay.
So, but I thought the music wasn't bad. I thought that was probably the best part of the movie.
Yeah, no,
100%.
I agree. We had to put on the subtitles in the beginning though, because there was a few points in that song. Is like, wait, what did they say? Did they say what I thought they said? But yeah, no. Oddly enough, the music was probably the most.
What was that about? What like giving us a? I don't know what it was.
Yeah, me neither.
Dude, I don't remember.
Like psychedelic, cool kid stuff, man.
Okay.
Like you had to drag your ass to this desert and commune with a cactus. You get it, man.
But they were at a prom, right?
Well, then you're not deep enough, man. Not with the cool kids.
Not the cool kids.
LaZar.
But,
Oh,
music was good. It was
No, the music was really fun.
oddly good. But God, like I said, it's for me. It was mostly the editing. I absolutely hated the editing. So I'm sure if I were to rewatch the movie with my eyes closed, I would appreciate it more. But I think like their concert scenes, even visually, was probably the better part of the movie.
Yeah.
It kept on showing poor Harris like being pouting, being sad.
And then the whole time, where was Lance in this? By the way, like, why? Like, am I the only one who's just like, wait? I thought you and Z-Man were the thing.
Yeah, like you that Z-Man's your romantic rival, but Lance, he's on that committed to
right
to being
like,
that was the other thing that threw me off because I was like, the competition was there, and then that turned around. But you know what? I know. Like for me, I kind of enjoyed the trippiness of that. I was like, is this a ABBA music video? Like just like them, kind of imposing themselves and stuff like that. I was just like, all right, that's funky. Whatever. It's the '70s. Like, good for you. Like, it kind of looks better than the She-Hulk trailer, with their CGI. So, what can we say? It was different times and still got it across.
But BuzzFeed said it was good.
I think
I loved the music, man. I thought the music was fantastic. Also, I mentioned that up front. I was really into it. I liked where they was going with it. Like music is like a really big part of the movie experience for me. And so if you have a great song, at least this is for me, I think it plays for all audiences, whether we recognize it or not. But if you have a great song up front of your movie and you have a comparable intro that makes sense with the song, I'm locked. You pulled me into that world. It just kind of helps set the tone for me. And this thing did that. And so I was probably locked in, I think maybe a little bit longer than the rest of you guys, it seems like. Because really, for me, I accepted what this thing was into the third act. And I will say that the music even kind of started to fizzle out a little bit. They put all their best joints right up front. And I feel like at the end, they came back to their best joint, Find It. And I think they're like, all right, we got to find the end to this movie now. So play that song.
Is that why that is like, we'll do a new song from this album, and the musical guy who wrote the music is like, nah, that's all I got. So they're like, no, we're gonna play the first song that like it was clearly like.
Yeah, I didn't find it not make their album. That's just silly. It was like that's your killer song. And then it also seems like once they got signed to a label, they started making like music that was a little bit more like on brand or something, like it fit a certain demographic. Whereas before, maybe they felt like they couldn't sell these funk rock records in that time period. You know what I mean? Like, let's tone it down. Let's tone down the psychedelic funk for a little bit.
I thought her voice. Oh, go on.
I said it was Z-Man. He commercialized them.
Yeah.
Giving him a new name.
Well, I don't blame Z-Man. He like financed the thing and put it all together. So he like, I want my money back, baby. You can make that rock stuff on your own time.
But she had a beautiful voice. I will say that she had at least for me, I was like, ooh, that's very sexy voice.
It was very strong with the backup singers too. It just like it all kind of meshed and worked together. They harmonized fantastic over what they were doing. It was great.
I will say that first scene at the Z-Man's party, and she like walks down the stage. I was like, that's the longest mic cord I've ever seen.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, is that a wireless mic cord? Where are you going?
She's not just going like forward and backwards. She's like going around almost in circle of people. I was just thinking like people having to like jump to like not get like swept by the cord. So yeah.
I love that she killed it at a Hollywood party, man. I love that she's like, all right, you're giving me a shot to perform at this Hollywood thing, and they're like, they didn't waste their opportunity. You know what I mean? That's what I also thought he was kind of going too. I thought they were like hungry and ambitious, and like that just gets you into that web their career gets them into that circle, right, to get the story started. But I thought it was going to be more about a movie about a band trying to make it in Hollywood up front too. I was kind of waiting for
Josie and
that.
the Pussycats style, right?
Yeah, I just thought it was like Dirty Josie and the Pussycats.
I really think
Almost
the first
famous.
15 minutes they really did a good. I thought he was doing a good job because there was that interaction between the rhyming, like the dialogue with the music in the background, and then they went to like there was a part where she was singing. There was some, like during the songs, the plot was revealed. Like they would kind of be hitting on each other without talking at all. Like she was hitting on what's that dude's name, Lance Rock, for the first time there, and like you could see how things were shifting, and I was like, this could be interesting the way they're playing. But then right after that like that whatever they had going just got lost.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're right. It happened around the time maybe Harrison got beat up for me.
Yeah.
Like right after Harrison gets beat up.
Man, he got his ass kicked.
He got his ass kicked. And he keeps getting up for more. I'm like, come on, Harrison. Knock it
The
off.
whole time, I don't want to fight in a robe. That's all I know. That just looked rough.
Yeah.
I thought Harrison was gonna be the killer. I thought he was like, especially the final time that they show the imposed or between him and the Z-Man in the song, and he just looks over. I was just like, here's another white guy that gets doesn't get what he wants and is gonna turn bad and gonna kill everyone. But no, maybe that's just our time now that it's just like, but yeah, I totally thought. And then when I saw him up there, I was like, oh shit, is he going to throw something? Is he going to take a gun? And then he's like, nope, he threw himself. But yeah.
The answer is he was armed and loaded with himself.
What they didn't know and what he didn't reveal, he was trying to throw himself at them. Trying to kamikaze himself to the band.
I don't know how he survived at all. I don't know how he wasn't at least a vegetable after that. He became a better person after that fall.
I love how it was kind of like network of just like, oh, keep filming and like kind of commentating on it, which I think is commentating on, the whole aspect of, TV and all that, like keep the cameras on, that kind of thing. But yeah, everyone who got somehow in bad situation became good afterwards in a certain sense. Like I got drug raped, and now I've found my, like everyone who
was she really drug raped? Because we don't see what happened, and Harrison seems confused too. What was she actually pregnant? Like what happened? I was so confused.
That's what I mean. We're led to believe that, but then, but everyone just like and the lawyer like gets cheated on, and then they're even more in love. And I'm just like, how are all these crazy stuff happening?
How angry did that girl? Yeah.
All this happened just because they wanted to see the Aunt Susan.
All because
of Aunt Susan.
Aunt Susan.
Oh, and then the guy shows up. They were engaged once, and then it's like, and again, and it's like, what happened to the guy? Like, why is he there? What?
Just for you, babe.
Yeah, he kind of did say that, didn't he?
He did. See, that's literally a plot point.
Yeah, it was like I've only proposed seriously once before,
and it was to you. It's like, then why are you calling you fiance?
Yeah,
and there wasn't a lot of build up to when the main character slept with the guy with the leg with the sock holder uppers. I don't know what those are called.
Oh yeah,
actually were those
garters?
Yeah, garters. Are they called garters for socks?
Yeah.
Male garters. I believe.
Garters.
Yeah, that's what I thought they were called.
There was no build up to why that happened. All of a sudden, she was like, "I'm just going to sleep with this guy who's been trying to screw me right from the beginning. I'm just going to do this," and then.
Well, Zane or whatever the guy's
thing. Lance was only sleeping with the girl because he found out that she was going to be a millionaire, and he found out that she was only going to get like a third of the money. And so, using his good looks and an incredible dick, he convinces the rock star lady to sleep with the other guy. So instead of getting a third, she would get a half of the inheritance. That's what happened. That was the
Okay, I
plot.
must have missed that.
I'm still trying to figure out how that was gonna work because the whole time he's still like, "You're getting 50,000." So I don't know how like sleep. I thought they were gonna take pictures. I thought they were gonna try and like con him and blackmail him into like
Yeah, it was
getting
kind of
away.
both. She was sort of blackmailing him, but she goes, "You'll just have to take my word for it because you had an orgasm."
But there was no
Nope.
blackmail. It was-
Did he really though? Because that man looked so nervous. In
I
bed with
think so.
like
I don't
he
know.
didn't
I thought so.
at the time. Like if anything, he needed the adult.
He did
Baxter
the chin
Wolf.
folding the clothes, like with his chin folding his pants. You know,
that was pretty
It's like
great.
he takes off his underwear and he's just like, okay.
I thought that was pretty cool, actually.
Like, what?
I thought that was pretty funny, man. I liked it. Baxter Wolf was the character's name.
that's
You guys
it.
are talking about.
And he kept on smoking the pipe like a goddamn moron.
I love that Baxter had no idea about marijuana whatsoever. Like he had never been near the stuff.
But he was at all the parties. Like, how do you not like? You've seen everyone smoke up next to you, and you're just like, yes, Watson.
Like there's a fine cherry tobacco, you know?
So
Yes.
In one scene, he's like sitting at the bar and he's like talking to someone who's smoking weed. He's like, and you're like an idiot. Like he like makes fun of her right to her face about why she's there and how she's acting. Like that dude, yeah.
Yeah, the daughter of the senator.
Right.
Mhm.
He's such an idiot. Like my thing is like you're like the old dude at a party and you're coming in with bad vibes, bro. Get out of here. Everybody else is having a good time, Baxter. And you're talking about people's dads in here? Get out of here.
I mean, his name is Baxter.
Baxter Wolf. He is a wolf.
Like, I don't think there's like if you decided to name your child that, you cursed them. Essentially.
When the ex-fiance came into the party, I actually thought, I was like, is that chick's dad, the senator? Did they bring, like, that's who I first thought it was. I'm like, of course.
No,
they brought
just
in
a
the
random
senator.
dude. He's just a random dude. I was like, who's this guy? Who's his haircut?
Who's this haircut?
And that was like the
Hair-
aunt's ex-boyfriend or something.
That's right.
Okay.
Ex-fiance
and then turned fiance that night
again.
again.
And then they talk about it like nonchalantly in their like card game, like everyone's like, "Oh, good." She was too kind, or something. Like I was like, "Where are these narrations coming from?" The narrations seem like it's the character breakdown at the, in what when you're pitching the script or whatever. They're just like, these are the character breakdowns of people, and it's just like, I guess we can read that as so that people can kind of get a feel of what we thought the characters were supposed to be.
It was
Oh.
weird.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, now I know what I was supposed to learn today.
And then the literal walking into the valley and by a lake. I was
the
like,
end?
are we? Yeah, I was like, is this?
in
I
her
was like, wait.
prairie dress.
It ended so wholesome and weird. For
And the one
this,
guy's out the window, like watching, and the judge walks over and turns closes the shades.
And
It was
all
like
of a sudden
such a
she's
bizarre
bum.
ending.
it was
she's
such
a
a
bum.
it was such a hokey like 1930s like choice of a film for this movie. It was like seven brothers and seven brides for seven brothers. That's how the movie ended. That was weird.
Cool Corvette, though. I was like, man, I would like to drive that Corvette right now.
Not wrong. The car was really good. Really sweet red.
No, you guys know what I'm talking about. The silver Corvette at the very end. That
Oh,
they
yeah.
pull up
yeah,
and they,
yeah.
they go through the
Gets
metals
out with
together.
Kane. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, man, like they're driving through Hollywood. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, I feel like they won the day. I'm like, look at these young, cool artists driving through Hollywood in a shiny silver Corvette, like to go frolic in this meadow. I'm like, it all worked out. like it's been 3 weeks. It all worked out.
And somehow, like we only got like somehow everyone's fine, except for Emerson with his or Pet with her broken arm because she got shot.
What about the police though? At the end, like they're gonna come into decapitated heads in the house.
Yeah.
It's a whole other movie once they get involved.
Someone got beheaded. He didn't have a nice day.
No, no, Lance did not.
This thing turns into like Silence of the Lamb at the end.
Yeah, and I thought
that ending.
I thought it was gonna be more like if they were going more satire. When they're doing the narration, they would narrate over the decapitated guy and like over Otto, like on the beach, still getting washed over. Like,
You know, why not do it that way? They put like, well, because at a funeral, Dino, you put up like the person's nicest photo.
maybe.
They should have done the head for this movie. They should have done the head.
Oh my god! See, now I just see about funerals where instead of that, it's a fucking autopsy photo.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
That is terrible. I haven't done that yet.
That's terrible.
Oh,
That's
man.
right. All right. On that note, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We'll go into final thoughts. And this let's do final thought of the movie and who you might recommend it to, if you were to recommend it, and yeah.
I'll go.
Yeah, go for it.
I honestly don't know who to recommend it to. And I know that my criticism in the beginning was kind of harsh, especially towards poor Mr. Ebert. Your film's still stinky to me. But I feel like this is gonna sound crazy, but I feel like if the editing was just not as erratic as it was, I probably would have had a better time with the movie. But it was so I got dizzy, I got nauseous while watching it purely because of the editing. Like, and that's kind of like how you build a movie is through editing. And if I don't know, I bet it was an artistic choice or whatever, but it just seemed like they didn't know what they were doing, what they were focusing on. So almost purely because of that, I didn't like the movie and I can't really recommend it. So sorry guys.
All right. Why don't we jump into Steve Dez? Why don't you give us your final thoughts, Steve?
Final thoughts. Yeah, I even though we did watch Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory a few weeks ago, I did not know we were gonna watch Z-Man and the Sex Slave Factory, or the origin story of Buffalo Bill. No, but this movie, again, I came in cold. I did not watch any trailers, no nothing, and it shocked me a lot in many ways. So it is a movie I would recommend to like all my boys, you know, that are still hooked in that Pornhub. You know, I will let them know about this movie just so they check it out and like, you know, have a little debate on Reddit. It's a film. I honestly, I can think of a few people I could recommend this movie, and the majority are women.
Yeah, we can see that.
But it's tough for me to like tell like a dude besides y'all to like watch this film. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
And there's a chance those women might judge you once they watch it.
No.
Superwoman.
The one that I'm thinking about, they'll see as art. They'll be like,
Okay.
"Oh, interesting."
Okay, I'll jump into my final thought really quick. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to look out for when you're watching this movie. It feels like you either have to be pretty sharp trying to put it together, and I don't think it comes together, honestly. I think this movie is a cult film. I think it classifies. I think this movie is a midnight film. I think this movie is a drug film. And because of that, it creates a cult kind of thing around it. Lots of different groups have found this film over the years, all for different reasons, I'm sure. All little subcultures, not all, but many different subcultures have adopted this film into like their hold of things that they find campy and weird about American cinema sometimes. So I think it succeeds on that level. Would I recommend it to anyone? I can't say that I would recommend it per se, except for like people who feel they need to have seen every movie. Um, sort of like me. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but if I get a vibe from somebody, I might ask them, "Have you ever seen Beyond the Valley of the Dolls?" Just to get a read on them and see like what their face does after that. You know what I mean? That'll be a good. I think I can tell what type of person they are just by the reaction, the expression they give me if they've ever seen it. To that note, I would say that I'm happy I've finally seen this film. I'm glad that I saw it with you guys to get perspectives and get it out my system because I would have hated to have seen this movie and not had somebody to chat about with after it's over. Like Dino said, this is maybe a group film even, where people know some of the lines. Maybe a Rocky Horror Picture Show style. Maybe these were comparable things to hold up against each other. I don't know. I've never seen Rocky Horror. That's my final thought on the film. Why don't we grab Chris's final thought?
Yeah, for me, I think it's like a insight into Roger Ebert. Like we all thought he was a pervert, but now we get to find out he actually is a pervert. For me, I would recommend this movie to college kids. I'd probably turn it into some sort of drinking game. Something where every time you saw a boob or, whatever you say, you'd be really wasted, obviously. But to me, that's what it is. It's something where it's like a group of people. Like Dino said to me, I can't imagine watching this again by myself. I feel like when people watch it by themselves, it's for a reason. So that's my final take on that.
This film is a good test of character. Yeah, good judge of a person, just like Jason said. So you gotta test out with your friends. If you have a friend that said, "Oh, I already seen it," ask them with whom. And they said, "Oh, just me."
Just me and my grandma. Just like always, every Saturday. Dino, why don't you hit us with your final thought?
I'm really glad Steve brought the Willy Wonka comparison because I actually was thinking that and I forgot to bring it up because I was getting hard Willy Wonka, especially the way he was talking in those lines. I was like, "Ooh, okay, Willy." I also I just thought about this. This is like a little side note, but I would have loved. I think that couple in the bathtub is still there fucking. By the way, like I would have loved to because they were like it kept cutting to them and like we got more footage of this couple fucking in the bathtub. I guess we could insert here. So I don't know if if it's during all the mayhem of the killing, they're just kind of there still like, what was that? Or at the very end of the epilogue, they're still like, doing that, right?
The movie should have ended. It should have as soon as the credits is over and it's like a second of black, it cuts back to them and they're still doing it in the tub and the police are still searching around the house, leaving them alone. Have their good time.
Maybe this was the first movie with end credits, but no one's because all the credits were at the beginning also, and then at the end as well. It was like they're doubling the credits. It was like the longest credit scroll. Anyway, the movie's weird. It's I think it had enough fun lines and like fun moments that. It wasn't a waste of a movie, and it's not I didn't like it. I don't know if I appreciated it yet, but it was something. Now, who would I recommend it to? I don't know if I would, but it is one of those kind of like if it is in a late night showing and someone kind of gets like mentions it like, oh, this movie's there, I might be like, oh, maybe you should watch it. And if they kind of drag me into it, I might go just because it's like I want to see what the experience is with like a group of people, right?
So you will watch this with your dad, right?
Oh my god.
Well, I was waiting for them to leave. You know, I was like, I gotta watch this movie. I don't want to go with you guys. I was like, oh, why? I was like, I think this movie is pretty hard, and I don't. The last thing I need is, you know, my mom like, what is this?
Dino
or my
supervision is advised for this picture.
yeah. So yeah,
I
that's
need to
kind of
review
it.
this for the cinema club.
I
What type
know.
of cinema club are you in?
Yeah,
Right, like what? Oh
I
man,
thought
that's
the
so
movie
great.
was
I would agree with that.
Oh yeah, after dark.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I really like the thing that you said, Dino, in your final thought, where you said that you would maybe see this in a cinema with like a group of fans at midnight or something. I think I would like to see how people respond to the movie. Actually, if it's a cult movie and people love it for their different set reasons, I would want to see like people dressed up as the characters or whatever going to this thing and having a party about it. I think that might be an experience that I would watch this movie again under those pretenses. Let's go ahead and finish it out with last but not least, Michaela, please, final thought.
Well, I watched it. I don't think I've ever looked at it. Honestly, like, it's just like that final trope with Z-Man is such like a harmful narrative that like probably started there. And I don't know. It's like if it's brought up in conversation, I guess that's the only time I'm really going to mention it. You know, like I can see what it was trying to do. And yeah, that's my final thought.
Thank you, Michaela. All right. So that concludes our review of Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, and it really just leaves me with one question for Steve. What do you got for us next week?
Next week, I don't know why you asked me, man, because I went pretty recent, so it's obviously not my turn. But I think it's time to pop someone's cherry, and that is Chris
Hey.
to be
Chris,
the
Chris,
host.
Chris.
We're gonna
Bye-bye.
do we're gonna do David Fincher's psychological thriller thrown out there by Stella last week or 2 weeks ago. It's called The Game. It's with Michael Douglas and Sean Penn. It's a David Fincher movie, of Seven and that Facebook movie, Social Network. It domestically did about 50 million, I believe. So it's something that a lot of people have watched after more recommendations. So I thought I'd throw that out there. But again, I'm going to give Stella a shout out. I actually texted her before and said, hey, is it cool if I use this movie because you brought it up? And she was like 100%. So I'm stoked to see what she thinks about it as well.
All right, nice. I was looking forward to this after you guys mentioned it last week, so this will be cool.
Mm-mm.
There you go. So for Michaela, JP, Jason Echoes, El Dantino, Z-Man, aka Chris, and me, Steve, that's TV. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Bum, 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 bum.